Hey, how's it going, guys? I decided to make a video about what kind of calculator you can use for the FE exam, and this is from the official website. I think this is pretty much the same as last year, but I'm still just gonna go over it. So for the FE exam, you're limited to what type of calculator you can use. We have a few options. You have the Casio, all FX115 and FX991 models. You also have the Hewlett-Packard, the HP33s and HP35 models. And finally, you have the Texas Instruments, all TI-30X and TI-36X models. So personally, I use the TI-36 model because when I was in college, I was using the TI-84 Plus, and the model was pretty similar to TI-84 Plus. You can probably get the TI-36 on Amazon for around $20, so it wasn't that expensive. Here we have some of the key features. It's able to display 4 lines. It can do full math calculations, 1 and 2 variable statistics, trig log exponents, probability, x and y tables, regressions and distributions, and the list goes on. So here we see that it's appropriate for engineering, computer science, calculus. So yeah, I think this is a solid calculator. And now I'm just going to show you some of the basics and how to use the calculator. So right now I'm just going to go over some problems so you guys can see how I use the calculator. After this video, you guys should be familiar with how to solve matrices, how to solve system of linear equations, and how to find the standard deviation. I'm also going to have the problems timestamped in the description for your convenience. Also, on a final note, I'm going to solve the problems using a TI-30X Pro emulator. That's just because I couldn't find the emulator for TI-36X Pro. But as you can see from the pictures, they're virtually the same thing. I couldn't find anything different about them, so I'm just going to use the TI-30X Pro emulator. Alright, so let's get on to the first problem now. For problem 1, we are given, what is the matrix product of A times B? So we have two 3x3 matrices. To enter the matrices into the calculator, first you need to press second. Then we press math. So here we can enter the matrices. First I'm going to go to the right to edit the matrices. Now to edit the first matrix, I'm going to press enter. For matrix A, I have to list out the rows and columns. We have a 3x3 matrix. So I'm going to go over to the right and enter 3. And press enter. I'm going to do the same thing for the columns. And press OK. Now I can enter the values for the matrix. So I pressed 5, it shows me on the bottom. Now I just have to press enter. So I'm just going to list out the other numbers now. Now that I entered the first matrix, I'm going to press second, then quit. I'm going to follow the same method for matrix B. This is also 3x3. And just like before, we're going to input the numbers. So now we do second quit again. We press second times math again. Press 1 for matrix A, times matrix B, so second math. Go down, press 2, which is equal to. So there you go, guys. We calculated the matrix product of A times B. We solved the matrix for two 3x3s, but we can change the columns and rows to solve for different matrices. For the second problem, we have what is the determinant of matrix A and inverse of matrix A. And here's our matrix A. So like the first problem, I'm going to input the values into the calculator. And this matrix is also 3x3. So now after inputting the values, I'm going to quit the matrix. So once we enter the values for matrix A, we need to specify that we want to find the determinant of matrix A. So now we need to enter a determinant into the calculator. We can do that by going into second math, scrolling over to math, and now the first option is determinant. So we press enter. So this gives us determinant parentheses, and now we need to enter matrix A. We do that again by going into matrix, and then pressing 1 for matrix A. And now we just need to close off the parentheses. Enter. So this gives you a determinant of 6. Again, you could do this for other matrices. And now moving on to the second part of the problem, we're going to find the inverse of matrix A. So we could do that by going into second math. This is going to bring us to the matrices. Press 1 for matrix A. And then we need to input the inverse function. So second math. Scrolling over to math. Going down to 3. So inverse is on number 3. We just press 3. Enter. There you go, this is the inverse for matrix A. And in order to find the fractions instead of having decimals, we just have to click this button. So there you go, it's easier to read. And this is the inverse for matrix A. For problem 3, we have calculate the values for x, y, and z for the following system of simultaneous linear equations. So we have 3 equations, and I want to turn this into an augmented matrix. And we can do that by taking the coefficients from the equations and turning that into a matrix. So this would be here's our augmented matrix. So now we can plug this into the calculator and solve for x, y, and z. We can solve these equations without having to input the values into 2 or more matrices. We can do that by solving the augmented matrix, and we do that by going into second system solver, which is in 10 or the inverse of 10. Since we have 3 variables and 3 equations, we press the second one, which is a 3x3 linear system. And press 2. So now this matrix matches our augmented matrix, and all we have to do is plug in the values. So now we can solve the matrix. And this is really awesome because once you hit solve, you can see that it solves the x, y, and z values for you. So it solved the equation x equals to -3, y equals to 4, and z equals to -1. For the fourth and final problem, we have the following set of numbers. We need to find the standard deviation and variance, along with the sample standard deviation and sample variance. So first of all, we need to input the values into the calculator. We do that by pressing data. Since we only have one set of data, we only need to enter the numbers into L1. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the numbers. On the bottom next to L1, it tells us the set of numbers that we entered. We only have 8 numbers, but this is including the extra space on the bottom. And we can verify that by subtracting 1 from the number next to L1, which would give us 8. So now we need to click Second Data. So here we have Statistics. We can go to the bottom next to one variable statistics. And the reason why we have one variable statistics instead of 2 is because we only have one set of data. So now we press enter. Here we pick L1 because we entered the data into the first column. And the frequency here is 1. So now we press enter and then calculate. So for the first one, n tells us the total sample size. X bar tells us the mean or the average. So Sx tells us the sample standard deviation. The sample standard deviation is 2.49. If we click below that, it tells us the standard deviation. So the standard deviation is 2.33. And finally, to find the variance or the sample variance, you just need to square the standard deviation or the sample standard deviation. So now we can find the variance. We can do that by highlighting 4 and pressing enter. So as you can see on the bottom, it shows us the standard deviation. We just need to square this number. And then press enter. So the variance is 5.44 if you round it. Unfortunately, it made a new number on the set of data, so we need to delete that. We can do that by going up and pressing delete. So we're back to the original set of numbers. So now we can find the sample variance. We highlight 3 and press enter. So again, it shows us a sample standard deviation on the bottom, and we just need to square it. And then press enter. So the sample variance is 6.21. Alright, there you have it, guys. We solved for the standard deviation as well as the sample standard deviation, as well as the variance and sample variance. And that's it for today's video. I hope this video helped you to become more familiar with the calculator. If you do have any questions, be sure to post it down below. And if you found this video to be helpful, be sure to leave a thumbs up. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.